What's up, you guys? This is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I make videos about social work, business, and life. So if that sounds interesting to you, then definitely feel free to subscribe. But what are we going to talk about on today's video? This video was actually inspired by one of you all. In one of the last videos I made, I got a wonderful comment from Loretta Lee, and she wanted me to do a video delving more into strategic networking. That's something that I always talk about in my videos. I always talk about the importance of networking, especially if you're hoping to find a job in the social impact space that can also offer you a good salary and a good wage, because jobs in general are really competitive. But if you're looking for those jobs that will pay you on the higher end of the spectrum, it becomes even more competitive. And in general, as a career coach, I like to give advice around growing your career and what smart things can help you to do that. And networking is one of those really big things. Finding a job in this current landscape is much more competitive compared to how it used to be. Now with technology and everyone being online, recruiters can put a job online and that job posting is now accessible to everyone in the world. Someone living in Paris, France or Nairobi, Kenya can apply for that job. So that means that the competition is much more fierce than it used to be. So networking is one of those areas that I recommend for you guys so you can really give yourself a leg up and not be competing for jobs with everyone all over the world, but instead you are building close relationships with individuals who may have connections to certain jobs that you'll want in the future. And me personally, I think networking is also beneficial because you're spending so much of your life in your career, at your jobs, at work. So why not build positive relationships with the people that you're working amongst? And with people who are doing the same kind of work as you. I think it's really powerful because you guys get to share information, stories about your personal experiences, as well as knowledge to help one another to do a better job in your field. And ideally, if you're a social worker, you're going to be networking with other people within the social impact space. So why would you not want to create an environment where you guys can share what you've learned from your individual experiences for the betterment of society and the people that you're wanting to help? So to me, networking isn't to the benefit of myself alone, but it's to the benefit of the population that I'm serving as well. I think sometimes when we think about networking, we feel that it's something that's a little icky, or it may be off-putting to social workers because it is a very business-oriented thing to do, right? I know in business school, those students are learning a lot about networking and the importance of networking, but maybe to social workers, it comes off as being something that's a little bit fake or selfish. So hopefully what I just mentioned can help you to see networking in a different light. And it's not about being fake, it's about being strategic around how you build allies within the field that you work in. But of course, networking can also help you to advance your career. And that's really what we're going to focus the most on in this video today. So just to simplify things, I'm going to give my top 8 biggest networking tips in this video. All right, so the first tip that I want to give you guys when it comes to networking is the importance of having a strategy. So let's say, for example, if you're going to a networking event, your goal probably shouldn't be to talk to as many people as possible and to exchange business cards with everyone at the event. Your goal instead should be to talk to people who are doing the same type of work as you and who you feel you could learn from and who could potentially learn from you as well. So at networking events, often there's a guest speaker or, someone who's sharing their experiences and career story. So you probably want to target those individuals and try to start conversations with people who actually are doing what you're doing. And also the people that are going to be surrounding that individual most likely are going to have similarities to yourself as well. Or at a networking event, if you see someone that you know or who also works in the area that you work in, 9 times out of 10, if you go and talk to them, you'll notice that the people surrounding them could also be people that you want to get to know based on commonalities as well. So try to find those pockets of people who are doing the same kind of thing as you. And when I say networking event, that's just an example. You can even think of this in terms of more online oriented networking platforms as well, just like LinkedIn, for example. The goal shouldn't be to connect with everyone on the LinkedIn platform, but instead connect with people who share a similar career or a similar background as yourself. Also, in terms of having a strategy, it's important important for you to actually know what you're interested in and what type of career you ultimately want to end up in. Because I know a lot of people that watch my videos don't already have a career in the social impact space yet. They're in the process of figuring out what their educational journey is going to be and ultimately what they want to study and build their career around. In order to really be smart when it comes to networking, that's something that you have to understand. You have to at least have a basic understanding of what type of career you want to do or what type of job you want to have in the future. So that's why I make these videos about finding your niche, because the sooner you can start to identify who you are as an individual and how that would lend to your ideal career path, the better, because then you can start to find people that are similar to yourself and who share the same type of goals or who are already working in your goal career path. Because when you are networking with people and meeting people who could potentially help you to get where you want to be, you have to be able to strongly convey to them where you're actually trying to go. So that's all a part of strategizing when it comes to networking too. You have to at least get a little bit clear on where you're trying to go. And on that note, I want to say that when it comes to networking, you should not only network when you're in a situation where you desperately need a job or when you're trying to make a career change. That's not the smart thing to do, because networking takes time. Building relationships with people takes time. You have to build trust with people. You have to make connections. Instead, I would say start networking now. Even if you're in your dream job, still ensure that you are making professional connections with people and networking, because you just never know when things are going to change. I think COVID was an example of that. Nobody could really predict COVID happening, right? But now that it's here, there's people who are finding themselves in tight situations with their jobs and not really being clear on their career path because maybe they've lost their job or they were laid off. Life happens, right? So you want to make sure that you're always networking no matter what situation you are in today, because tomorrow may bring something different. And tip number 3 is when you are networking and building relationships with people, it's important to build below the surface relationships and really cultivate doing that instead of just, hi and bye, how are you doing type of relationships. And that's why I think introverts, contrary to popular belief, are actually some of the best networkers, because introverts know how to go beyond small talk and to conversations that are a bit more important. And that's really what you want to do when you network. I mean, you probably don't want to do this or start these more deeper talks if you're at like a networking event or if you're meeting someone on LinkedIn, because that's just a little bit awkward. But if it's people that you're seeing more often, like if you're in a professional development group with someone, or if these are your colleagues and people that you work with on a regular basis, make sure that you start to switch the conversation from that hi, bye, how are you, and get a little bit deeper and start picking up on who they are as individuals, what their family makeup may be, if they like animals, if they have a son or a daughter, and start to really ask questions about that instead of basic conversations that they would have with someone that they don't really know well. The goal is to, form deeper relationships with people that will actually count. People that will take a vested interest in who you are as well and your overall well-being. So if you don't take interest in other people, they're not going to really be that interested or vested in you. We want to help people that we actually feel connected to. So tip number 4 is when you're in different professional development settings, make sure that you have an overall positive attitude and you're a kind and trustworthy person. Basically, just make sure you're a good person, right? Make sure you're not that person that's kind of draining the energy, putting off negative vibes, and just being someone that other people don't enjoy being around. Just know that whatever energy you put out, you're going to get back as well. And if you are being a negative person and not a trustworthy person, people are going to read that. People are going to pick up on that, and they're going to want to keep distance between themselves and you. So don't exude anything that would cause people to want to put up barriers. Think about the old phrase, treat people the way you would want to be treated. When I was younger, I used to look at this as being a really, lame quote, but now that I'm getting older, I understand how important it is. Sometimes I am in a really bad mood and I want to make other people around me feel that bad energy too. Two, just because sometimes it can make us feel better if we just, share our negativity with others. I know gossip is very popular in the workplace, talking behind other people's backs, saying mean things about other coworkers just to make themselves feel better about their discomfort in the workplace. And I would highly recommend that you stay away from all of that, because it's just bringing toxicity into the workplace, and it's going to make it hard for you to build strong relationships with others. They're going to think, oh, you're gossiping about this person today, but you could be gossiping about me tomorrow. So just be a kind person and you'll see how far that can take you. All right, so tip number 5. When you are trying to be a networking king or queen, it's important for you to be confident, understand what you're bringing to the table, celebrate your experiences, and talk about those experiences that you've had and how it can help to lead the work that you guys are doing currently. However, it's important to also be humble and to not let that confidence get in the way of you being open for growth and knowing that we all have more to learn. Nobody knows everything there is to know about everything. So always exude confidence in the workplace. Don't be ashamed of your experience, your educational level. Sometimes people can be ashamed of these things because they don't have as much education or experience as other people in the group, or that they may have too much of education or too much experience as others. But don't let any of that break at your confidence and stop you from showing up as your authentic and whole self. We want to be around people who are confident in who they are. We don't want to be around people that are super insecure and always need confirmation and affirmation constantly, right? Of course, everyone loves a thank you or a good job, but we don't want to be around people who need it to stay afloat. So be confident in you, but also always be open to admitting when you're wrong, because people like when you do that. It helps them to also feel like they can admit when they're wrong, and it helps people to know that around you, they can be themselves and they don't have to put on a front. So be that for others and accept feedback graciously, thank people for their feedback, and admit when you're wrong. This is going to help you to build better relationships as you're networking. Okay, so tip number 6 is to make sure you're taking advantage of different professional development opportunities that come your way. Oftentimes at your place of business or at your job, you're going to have different resource groups or affinity groups where people with the same backgrounds come together to celebrate and to support one another in the work environment. So my current job, we have different employee resource groups, and I'm a part of one that is tailored towards professional women. And this has been a great opportunity for me because I've been able to meet an amazing group of women who work in different parts of my organization. And I've been able to meet women who have been working at my job for 20 to 30 years. They have great experience, and oftentimes they have pretty, high up positions within the organization. So being a part of this professional development group has allowed me to meet people that I otherwise wouldn't meet with. And as I mentioned before, just to further cultivate professional relationships. Also, my manager gave me an opportunity to be a part of this organization in my community where professionals are brought together to learn about different cultures and ethnicities around the city that I live in. So through this opportunity, myself and the other professionals meet on a monthly basis and build their overall inclusivity skills. I've met people that work at a bunch of different organizations, nonprofits, and corporations in my community, and that's been a really great opportunity. I could have said no to that opportunity, but I decided to go along with it, even though it's more time that I have to dedicate, but I thought it would be beneficial for me in my overall career, and I think it was. I think it was a really good opportunity. I'm also a part of a nonprofit community advisory committee, which is one thing I always recommend for you guys to get involved in. Any type of opportunity where you can take a leadership role within a nonprofit or agency in your community and provide your skill set to that nonprofit to help them to grow. I think that's phenomenal because you're doing something that's very important. This is another way that you can give back to a community and population that you care about. And it's also a great professional development opportunity too. And you get to once again network with like-minded professionals. And this position is something I've been in for a few years now. And not too long ago, I was actually asked by this nonprofit if I would want to move up to being one of their board members. And that's a really phenomenal opportunity that will put me in touch with even more phenomenal people and help me to build my network. And with this same organization, a few years ago, I started off as a volunteer. I moved from a volunteer to being on the committee and to soon being on their board. So that just goes to show you how a little volunteer opportunity can really turn into something bigger and something that can really help you with networking and your overall career growth. So never think that a certain volunteer or community opportunity that you take on is not grand enough or, too small. So along these same lines, I also want to mention that if you are looking for some type of professional development opportunity to take part in, think about the schools that you've attended as well and try to get more involved in their alumni chapter. I think this is something that a lot of people, including myself, don't really take full advantage of. Just think about all of the thousands and thousands of people who have attended the same undergrad or graduate school as yourself, and what amazing things they could be doing with their lives right now. So they can actually become a part of your network. So when it comes to this networking thing, I think one of the biggest things to remember is that you just have to put forth the effort. Doing all of these things that I'm mentioning is going to take more time out of your day, less time that you may spend doing other things, maybe being with family and friends or watching that extra Netflix show. But you have to be okay with sacrificing a little bit of time to dedicate towards professional development and networking, and understand that even if it doesn't show benefits right away, in the long run, it will have benefits. So just put forth the effort. But my 7th tip is identify your networking style based on your specific personality. We all have different personalities. Some of us are a little bit more introverted than others. I think that overall social workers do tend to be a little bit more introverted just because we're very thoughtful individuals and we also are really good listeners. Basically we have a lot of traits that align with introversion. But with that in mind, you have to consider what makes the best sense and what can be the things that you do when it comes to building relationships and networking. So instead of going to big networking events, you may want to instead go to smaller sized networking events, exchange cards with individuals and ask to meet them for a coffee or an environment where you guys can share a more one-on-one conversation instead of, you talking in a big group of other people. Also, networking via LinkedIn or some other online platform may be more comforting for you as an introvert. If you're more introverted, I think building an online platform that can help you to build and cultivate relationships with people is also a really good idea. Like, for example, what I'm doing. One reason I even have this YouTube channel is because I am an introvert and I did want to create a platform that would open up deeper conversations with other people who care about social impact and social work. Although I have over 9,000 people following this platform now, it's easier for me to build relationships with such a big group of people compared to if I was at like a huge networking event and I had to go around and try to talk to everybody. To me, this is a more comfortable environment to build relationships. So just consider who you are as an individual and what will help you to bring your strengths forward when it comes to building relationships and networking. Just because you're an introvert doesn't mean that you should shy away from networking, and it doesn't mean that you should just give up on networking. Just know that you have to find your own unique way of doing it. Okay, and the 8th and last tip that I'm going to give you guys when it comes to strategic networking and building relationships that count is, of course, making sure that you're on LinkedIn and that your LinkedIn profile showcases you in a good light and is optimized so people can actually find your page. It's not enough that you just make a LinkedIn profile and you don't have a picture, you don't have it filled out, you don't have any references or recommendations. Please take advantage of that platform and fill it out to its full extent. Make sure that you have a nice profile picture and take the time to interact with people who you think would be good to know. LinkedIn is such a phenomenal platform because it's focused solely on growing your career. It's really the only social media platform like it. It allows you to really take charge of your personal brand and put forth what you want to put forth about yourself. So if you guys have not fully utilized your LinkedIn pages yet, I definitely recommend that you do so. Okay, so these are my top 8 tips that you should consider when you want to network like a boss and be strategic about the professional relationships that you're building. Hopefully this video gave you guys something to think about. If you have any other tips about strategic networking, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you so much, Loretta Lee, for this video recommendation. And on that note, I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you guys soon.